now available in paperback and e-readers. Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. One of my viewers wanted me to talk about the decline of black music. Now, if you look at this 21st century, you don't really hear much music coming from the black musicians, and you really don't hear much music because many of these companies basically are not really looking to go out here and target black audiences with music ever since the Telecom Act of 1996 basically consolidated media and made it corporate. Now, I remember a different era of music and growing up in basically what I would consider to be a golden age of music, a golden age that basically started, I believe, back in the 1950s with rock and roll, which was originally created by black people, and even before that we had jazz, and black music basically was, again, the foundation for all of the music that we used to listen to back in the day. And what's really sad is that we don't really have that foundation of great musicians like we did back in the day. Now, I remember growing up in the late 70s and in 1980s, and basically I remember just seeing a diversity of sound as related to music. Now, I grew up in a Christian home, and basically we listened to a lot of gospel, but as I was out on the street and going shopping with my family, we would hear a lot of great black music from black musicians, like rock musicians like Prince, pop musicians like Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson, and R&B singers like Anita Baker, and singers like the late Vesta Williams. I mean, you would get a whole lot of different sounds as related to music, not to mention the emerging genre of rap music. I mean, we used to get a lot of diversity of different sounds and different styles of music, and every kid back in the day can always remember, on the weekends when your parents were out here cleaning, what they would do is go out here and pick up a record and put it on the record player, and mom would be out here playing her music as she was cleaning the house. That was a staple of black households, and it was a staple of black households because that music would get you in the mood, it would help you relax, and the songs that were presented, again, were really uplifting and upbeat in a lot of cases, or they were really soulful and loving, like R&B. R&B basically had a lot of love and heart into it, and you also had a lot of really fun music that when you were from our generation that you could take out a tape and put into your Walkman. I mean, there was music like from musicians like Prince and Michael Jackson showing us that you could do pop and rock music again. And then you had beautiful ballad singers like the late Whitney Houston. I mean, there was just so much great music going on as related to black music back, especially in the mid to late 1980s. Oh man, the mid to late 1980s were a pure golden age of music. I mean, you could have a variety of different types of sounds. I mean, again, you could have your pop music and be able to listen to that. You could be able to listen to rap music. You could be able to listen to some jazz from people like, I believe his name was Miles Coltrane, or his name was something like that. Again, there were just, so many great forms of music, and everything was basically great. I mean, you had all these great R&B singers singing and promoting black love and romance in their music, like Anita Baker and the late Vesta Williams. And you had, again, just so many different soulful sounds, not to mention the extreme diversity of rap music. I mean, rap came out back in the late 70s, and it started out just as basically guys, again, doing beats to different rhymes. But as we came into the mid to late 80s, we started to see more phonetical wordplay, and we also started to see diversity of thought from guys like Biz Markie and Kid and Play, who were comedy rappers. We started to see guys who were hard lyricists like Rakim, and we started to see storytellers like Kool G Rap, and we started to see, again, female rappers like MC Lyte and Queen Latifah and Moni Love and the Cookie Crew. I mean, again, there was so much great music going on, not to mention experimental rappers like Nana Cherry, again, an underrated musician, just a brilliant, when you listen to her wordplay and her just brilliant take on music where she puts poetry along with things. I mean, there was so much variety that when you went to a store like the Wiz, you basically were coming out of that store with at least maybe $30, $40 worth of tapes because there was so much great selection as related to music, and you could just basically go out here and enjoy yourself as just by this with tapes, and you could just go out here and have so much stuff to put into your Walkman. I mean, if you're a teenager like me, or if you're a mom who's just having a weekend, there was great music that you could play when you're cleaning the house. That's what I learned as a kid. I mean, even there was great gospel from singers like Shirley Caesar and many other groups like the Winans. I mean, just really great music going on. And again, moms used to go out here and use this to clean the house. Dads would drive in their Cutlass or their Monte Carlo or your Buick Deuce and a quarter. If you were like my father, that's the car he had. Again, you could put that on in your car and chill out. And there was just so much good stuff out there. I mean, there's just so many great musicians out there. And they're right now, they're right here on YouTube. You can just go out here and check out all that great music. I mean, just so much great stuff. And one of the things that I really loved about that music is that it had a heart, it had a soul. You could feel the emotions of the people singing these songs. And this is the type of music that, again, a lot of us grew up with back in the 80s and even into the 90s. And I would say that music was doing very well as related to black music until about, I would say, about the late 1980s. I know that the beginning of the end of rap music was basically with the NWA, and I would have to say that when it came down to music here in the black community, really the beginning of the end of really great music was with the NWA. I believe that they basically started the decline of great black music because instead of us getting that diversity of thought and that diversity of sound, basically what many musicians wanted to do was seek out white acceptance. And again, this is where a lot of people got spellbound. This is where I believe they got spellbound because we went from people going out here and singing great music, and again, us getting things like boy bands like Boyz II Men and groups like Belle Biv DeVoe, which came out of New Edition. I mean, we went from, again, guys singing, again, soulful songs about love and romance and as related to music, and women singing about, again, soulful songs, or people singing about different things like Michael Jackson. Sometimes he would mix a little politics into some of his songs, like his after Thriller. I mean, Thriller was pure entertainment. It was a masterpiece of an album. But then you had Michael Jackson again going in and mixing that with his pop. And then you had other singers like, again, I'll repeat about Vesta Williams. Again, she was a brilliant singer and she just had a beautiful voice. And then there was Jody Watley, who came out of Shalimar. I mean, you should check out Shalimar. They are just, again, an absolutely fantastic, that's a fantastic album that they had. And again, Jody Watley came out with her album in '89. I remember that one was with no, '87 was Looking for a New Love. She had that was it was a great album all around. And again, you had that variety of singers. And again, we went from that variety of voices to us going into this world of, again, gangster rap. And gangster rap basically was the thing that I believe just started the decline of black music, because many of the white record executives, basically they only wanted to hear one sound. They basically only wanted to hear one type of sound, and that was a sound that basically breathed brand new life into their old stereotypes about black people. And as they got to hear the things that they wanted to hear about black people being in the ghetto and in the streets, going out here and committing crimes, this is where we started hearing no more love songs. About the mid to late 90s, we stopped hearing about love songs, and we stopped hearing R&B, and we got nothing more than, again, gangster rappers. And we walked away from, again, many of the music as related to the boy bands, not boy bands, but the soulful singers and groups like Boyz II Men and Jodeci. I mean, I remember, again, we used to get that type of music until about the mid-90s, and that's where we started to go full gangster rap. And then with the R&B went into a major decline, because R&B was singers singing about black love. But instead of us getting that type of R&B, what we got was R&B that basically was looking to fit the Jezebel stereotype, like Adina Howard, with all of that singing about, again, being a freak like me. And that's where black music again went into this state of decline, because instead of it being about music that expressed our love for each other and talked about things as related to our culture, what we started to get was a kind of music that was basically looking to fit itself into a box that was acceptable to white people. That was the saddest part about black music, is that black music basically started looking to fit itself into a box that was acceptable to white people. And instead of that, what we got were guys looking to either be gangster rappers or singers looking to present themselves as Jezebels, and basically singing about sexual promiscuity and singing about, again, not singing about the love of loving a black man. No, what we got was a lot of music that was just basically starting to become a lot darker and a lot sadder. Again, it just really didn't have that soul. I mean, I could compare, like, again, a Whitney Houston album, the first two Whitney Houston albums that were done, the Whitney Houston from 1985 and Whitney in 1987, or the I'm Your Baby Tonight in 1990. Those three albums just was a Whitney Houston that had a lot of love, a lot of heart, and a lot of soul. Then I go to her 2000s album, and it doesn't have that same soul or that heart. And I go to other music again, and I start to see that decline, because we're no longer singing about love. We're no longer singing about joy. Again, and what's really ironic is that you would get that type of love and soul in a time where black people were at our poorest and in our greatest struggle. But as black people started to become, more a part of society and integrating into getting that white acceptance, we started to see black music basically taking on the reflection of the stereotypes of white supremacy. And that's really the saddest part about our music, and that's why it went into decline. It's basically, again, showing how it was like a snapshot of dysfunction as related to integration, and things got progressively worse around after about 2000, because 2000, I would say, is where black music basically just fell off a cliff, because again, we're not really getting that R&B. I mean, R&B today is basically, we don't even hear R&B anymore, and most of the rap now is basically, again, all talking about violence compared to the music that we used to listen to. I mean, I remember in the 80s, again, rap had such variety. Again, you had your lyricists like, again, Big Daddy Kane and Rakim. You had your storytellers like Kool G Rap. You had your comedy rappers like Kid and Play. You had your female rappers like Monie Love and the Cookie Crew and Queen Latifah and MC Lyte and Roxanne. And everybody had their own voice. Everybody had their own style. And we don't have that anymore. No, everything just feels like it's coming off an assembly line at this point, especially with the Telecom Act of 1996, consolidating music and everything into a corporate entity. And as everything has been consolidated into this corporate entity, what sadly has been happening is the music is not unique, it's not distinct, it really doesn't have a great sound. No, when it comes down to black music basically reflects white supremacy. Basically, it's just, music that just, where you have black people saying what the what they believe white people want to hear regarding black people. They want to hear black women talking about sexual promiscuity because they want to push the Jezebel stereotype. They want to hear black men talking about violence in the streets, talking about making people wet. I mean, that's what Steve Harvey and them talked about in The Kings of Comedy. Again, no great love in our music anymore if it's produced, because you really can't find albums anymore. And that's the other part of the decline of black music, is you can't go to a place like the Record Shack with Shakulu Shangs anymore and find great albums. Again, it used to be, back in the day, you would get a whole album full of music, and it would be just like a story, like Michael Jackson's Thriller, where you would have songs coming from beginning to end. You just get a whole great album. Or like the Whitney Houston albums I mentioned, Whitney Houston and Whitney and I'm Your Baby Tonight, just a whole album of awesome music. I mean, they only played the singles on the radio, but you had to get the album to get the other songs. And again, this was the reason why folks would be heading over to places like The Wiz or Suncoast or Sam Goody to go pick up an album. But there's no real reason to pick up an album because again today in like the 2000s, and I say 2000 is like the complete end of black music, because used to be black people, again, we would go to the store to get our music, but when places like sites like LimeWire and Kazaa came along, again, people were downloading music on MP3, so they had no incentive to buy the album. And what's even worse is, as people had less incentive to buy the album, record producers who are part of this corporate oligarchy, what they were doing was basically they would try to go out here and give you a garbage album. What they would do is basically give you this garbage album where you would get one great song and the rest would really be mid. And we lost that whole ability to be storytellers, because that was one of the things that made albums great, was that you had like this theme as related to the album. People really thought about this as related to music. They really thought about, how each song is going to fit into this whole thing and tell a story from beginning to end. We lost that whole creative process because people got caught up in profits on MP3s, and as they got caught up in making profits on MP3s, music basically went into a further decline as related to black music, because singers would just go out here and look to make money on that one song instead of trying to tell a story in an album. And that made it where the music became extremely disconnected and detached, and you got your one great song in the mid 2000s, but you really didn't get that album or that album experience, because one of the things that makes, again, a record really great is that you get that experience of that whole album, that you get all 8 or 10 of those songs, and you see how that story comes together. We lose that whole creative process as related to black music, and it's really sad because, again, this is where the artist can have more input into things. This is one of the things that made me, again, respect guys like the late Michael Jackson and the late Prince Rogers Nelson. I mean, Prince and Michael Jackson would, yes, they would make songs, but they would work towards making the album, fit into a sequence and a theme as related to that music, so that when you got that album and you listened to that whole album, it was an experience. And that's what made them truly great musicians, that ability to, again, focus on craft. And we basically are losing that because, again, craft wasn't passed from the last generation to the next generation. And a lot of us really don't understand, all the intricacies of putting music together. It's very similar to putting together a film or a comic book or a novel. Again, when people go out here and put together an album, you're telling a story. That's something that people really don't get. I mean, people in the goth scene, they do understand this, because a lot of the goth music, again, does follow that type of sequencing. But the whole thing is, people don't really appreciate that as related to music, because, again, people are more focused on, since the late 80s, on crafting an image of anti-black narratives inside of that music. And again, that led to the decline of black music, because the foundation of black music, I believe, is black love. And ever since the mainstream media has been pushing these anti-black messages like this gangster rap and these stereotypes, basically, we don't get that love. And since we don't get that love, again, black music has gone on a decline. This, and along with the Telecom Act of 96 and the evolution of the MP3, basically have turned, again, black music into a sad space, turned black music into a very sad space, where we don't get that music that really, again, makes you, again, feel good or basically feel proud about yourself. I mean, that's one of the things that I loved about growing up in the 80s, is that you could listen to black music and it could give you a sense of pride. It could give you a sense of self-worth about yourself. But these days, what we get are people like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion talking about WAP. And again, that song just feels so demonic and satanic, and again, has no real love in it, just absolutely disgusting. And again, this is all part of the decline of black music. Again, black music used to be something that brought people together, and again, it was a place where we could share our love for each other. Again, show it in our songs, whether it be gospel, whether it be R&B, whether it be pop, whether it be rap and hip-hop. there was a spirit to that music. There was a spirit and a soul to that music. Let me not mention funk and soul. Just there was a love of just life in that music, and that life basically we don't see it anymore. And this is why we don't really see most people going to the radio anymore, because people who are in music basically are there because they either want that image of being a superstar, or they want to be like many of these moguls like Sean P. Diddy Combs or Jay-Z. They come to the music for the money, but they don't come to the music for the love. They don't come to the music for the passion. They don't come to the music because they care about what they're saying. I mean, it doesn't mean anything to people, and that's the saddest part about the decline of black music, is that the people making black music are basically in it either for the money, and because they're in it for the money, they're looking to seek out, again, white validation and approval, instead of looking to make a sound that's uniquely ours. Again, when we went out here making music that was uniquely ours, we invented jazz, we basically invented rock and roll, we invented R&B, we invented soul and funk music, we invented rap music. I mean, most of those musical genres were invented by foundational black Americans. We made that music, and we basically made the sound of America. If you really think about it, we made the sound of America, because before black people came into the music genre, we were getting How Much Is That Doggy in the Window as a top 40 song from white folks and some crooning. But when black people came in and we started singing, we put a soul to that music, we put a heart to that music, and it's really sad that we are not having that soul and heart in our music anymore, because we don't have that love for each other. We don't have that love for each other anymore. No, we've been bombarded with self-hatred, with gangster rap, and basically all these sexually promiscuous images. And again, as we've bought into these stereotypes as related to ourselves, it's reflected in our art and our literature and our music, and that's why our sound basically is almost silent, because people who don't love themselves don't have a reason to sing about anything. They really don't have a reason to sing about anything or sing praises of anything, and that's one of the reasons why black music basically has gone silent. I mean, the original foundation of everything really is us singing praises to God, and that's one of the other things that people don't really think about. Again, God wanted to hear, songs of praise to him, and gospel. That's why gospel was essential to black music, because gospel really came alive with black people. Again, that was a major platform, but again, we don't have that love for God. We don't have that love for ourselves anymore. And when people don't have a love for themselves, they don't have a reason to sing. They don't have a reason to be joyful, because part of singing is that people have joy in their lives. They're happy with their lives. And it's hard to do that, again, in a society that basically wants to, again, degrade you and, again, is insidious about it. And that's why we don't really hear great black music from great black musicians anymore. Now, this was a video requested by one of my viewers, and if you want to request a video, you can drop a donation for a minimum of $15 to the PayPal or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if I know something about that subject, I'll make that video for you. And if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, you can find many of my books in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com, and you can also find my books at other online booksellers like Draft Digital, Barnes & Noble, at the Apple Bookstore, Google Play, and even at big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Give in to temptation and pick up this action-packed African-American paranormal romance. Get The Temptation of John Haynes in paperback and e-readers today.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.